Hello. Thank you for joining us today on another adventure in real estate. On this adventure today, we have Melvin Woodson with Farm Credit. Melvin's not a stranger here to adventures in real estate, and we're going to just kind of talk a little bit about, well, I would say that not every mortgage company or bank is the same, and some might specialize in one thing or another. Some might do kind of offer you a smorgasbord of options, and so today, Melvin, we're just going to kind of jump in, if you will, and maybe say I'm going to give you an example and let you kind of talk to me a little bit about Farm Credit and how you might handle that from that standpoint. Is that all right?
That's cool. Sounds good.
All right. So Melvin, I am, I'm interested in some cattle, a large acreage. Found a really nice property here in Franklin County that, let's just say that's 100 acres. It's got a really nice house on it.
Right. And
I'm interested in getting some help in buying. I don't have enough cash to just pay for it outright.
Right.
So, Melvin, help me out here. Is that something that Farm Credit would handle?
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve, and it's absolutely something we can handle. And you know, the good thing, you talked about the smorgasbord. It's a great word, by the way. The smorgasbord of options. So we have several. We have several options. We kind of lump. So at Farm Credit, what we do is we do land, we do homes. You know, those could be the same loan product, or it could be a different loan product. We kind of lump all these rural home loans into a couple different categories, and we depending on the goals of the buyer, what they want to do, how much money down, may depend on which bucket on this smorgasbord that we're gonna fit them into.
All right. So when you talk about rural home loans, man, sorry, that was a tongue twister there for a minute, but. Rural home loans.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about what are some things that make them unique? What are some of the things, aspects that we might deal with rural home loans that maybe we wouldn't with other properties?
Okay. So I guess the first thing I do is just kind of define what my definition of a rural home loan is. So we're looking at homes that are going to be in the counties. So maybe not in the metropolitan area. It's not in like say a Roanoke here or. Danville or a Lynchburg. It's going to be in the county, and typically, like your example, it's higher acreage. Some lenders, you get to about 10 or 20 acres, it's their sweet spot. They won't finance a home loan over that. We don't have an issue with higher acreage. The example you gave, it's no problem for us to finance that. So a rural home loan is going to be something that falls along those lines. It's in the county, may or may not have higher acreage. We see sometimes there's things where, for instance, large acreage, or there may be something unique about it. It may be on a private road, maybe on a dirt road, maybe it's not on a state-maintained highway.
Right.
There's some things to consider when you're on a private road that you have to consider. We see all kinds of things. Is there access into the property? Is there an easement in there? Does it have a shared well? So some of these questions that I'm asking are some of the questions I go through with my clients when we talk about properties, because there's some things maybe they're not thinking about when they're considering their home purchase. And
that's interesting. You talk about easements. That's something that you have a listing, and it may not be our listing. It may be someone else's. It seems like at times easements have a way of kind of rearing their head. That's what I'll say. They just kind of pop up at times.
That's right.
And you're like, I wonder why we didn't know about this beforehand. It's not always easy to sort through and find those things. Some of that stuff, you got to dig into the deeds, get into the records, and really trying to sort some of that stuff out. It can be challenging.
That's right.
At times. So, and then you mentioned access. Things like road maintenance agreements.
Right. Yeah, those are, and here's the thing. I've got a few years of experience, and so I've run into a couple of these before. So now on the front end, I'm asking some of those questions, because here's what happens. The reason sometimes it comes at the end, the legal work is usually the last thing that comes in.
That's right.
You've already looked at your client's financial information, the credit, you've looked at the income. oh, that looks great, you know, and you move past that and you've ordered the title work and it comes in, you know, a couple weeks after you've ordered it, and then you start saying, wait a minute, here's an issue with easement, or it's on a private road and there's no agreement. So it's better to ask some of these questions on the front end if you're familiar with rural home loans or rural properties, because it's better to deal with this on the front end for sure.
Certainly, that is for sure. Well, is there anything else that we missed about like rural home loans that you want to make sure that we touched on here in specific with that?
Yeah, I guess one more thing. A lot of people will say, well, I'm buying a rural home, it's got 40 acres, I can't get a conventional loan on that. You know, I've got to go with private lending. And that may be the case, but you know, it also may be the case that you still could get conventional lending. And you know, when I'm talking about conventional financing, I'm talking about really good interest rates. I'm talking about, you know, very low down payment, somewhere in the 3% to 5% range. Just because a house has, you know, over 20 acres doesn't necessarily mean you have to go with private financing. A lot of times with us, you can get a conventional loan with some of those rural property consists.
Sure. All right. Well, Melvin, we certainly appreciate your time here with us today.
Sure.
And we're going to let that wrap things up. But if you're interested in rural home loan, a loan towards acreage, Melvin at Farm Credit, I am sure, will be glad to visit with you. So we do appreciate you joining us today on this adventure in real estate.